I was born in Kaiserslautern, Germany, also the place where we're finding ourselves right now. Why did my parents in the first place decided to leave their home country? Well, it was due to the feeling of not feeling safe there anymore. Also because of the occupation and because of the war that happened before that. So that means my parents are leaving Vietnam in order to find another place where they might feel more safe. The German state was kind enough to accept my parents as refugees. And so this is the background how my parents found their way to Europe.
As a young child, what were you like?
In the beginning, I was quite communicative, I would say. So some of my relatives used to call me Mr. Radio because you couldn't turn me off anymore. So once I'm on, I was like speaking. But to my surprise, at some point it really shifted. I'm not sure exactly how it happened and why it happened, but after being very communicative, at some point I started to reflect actually way more about what's going on inside of me, paying more attention to staying with myself, let's say like this, and observing the world around me. With the age of 4, let's jump directly, my father put me into a Kung Fu school where a style was practiced which is called Shaolin Green Dragon style, also integrating 7-star praying mantis techniques. So many people might know it looks like this, yes. And yeah, but besides going to the training, I usually just went to school like every other child also in Germany. It's just that my main focus was fulfilling the expectations of my parents in the academic field.
And you mentioned, was it the age of 4 that you first went? How did you feel walking into that environment for the first time?
Well, I do think that somehow, I stayed with it my whole life afterwards. So apparently something resonated with me. And the fact of originating from Asia on the one side and then now practicing a martial art which is also derived from Asia, maybe you would say that there is some resonance. Of course, in the very beginning, it was more like a sport for me, also for my parents.
And you took to it pretty quickly?
Let me put it like this. In the beginning, all the steps are always difficult. To start something new is always difficult. But I also had actually joy and I liked to do the training. So traditionally, of course, we speak about a master-student relationship, and that very first master that I ever had, I would say he was like my second father. I just felt it that whenever he taught me something, it's not just that I wanted to be good for myself, but something inside of me always felt like I would also want to be good, so I received the acknowledgement of my teacher. Yeah, and this is really the relationship between a master and a student in the martial arts.
And for someone watching this who might, have never come across Shaolin before or never, not really know what Kung Fu is, are you able to explain what that training might look like, what the kind of basic principles that you're, working towards are?
Let's work it out from the outside to the inside, meaning what we call Kung Fu, what I practiced known as Kung Fu, it is a martial art. A martial art, every country in this world has their own ways of martial art, meaning their ways of fighting. Some countries have boxing for fighting, some people have wrestling for fighting. In Japan, you would call it karate. In Korea, you would call it taekwondo. And Kung Fu is now a martial art coming from China. Okay, so something along the line, it's about learning how to fight, learning how to defend yourself on the one side if somebody attacks you, but on the other side also, if you feel like attacking someone, how to do it. And this is where two things come together. On the one side, you need to know how to be offensive, let's call it. So getting things out of you, attacking. And on the other side, of course, you need to learn to be defensive, meaning how to neutralize or how to cope with attacks that come in your direction, physically speaking. And every time when you try to change something about your body, of course, it takes time until the body has really changed, but especially it takes effort and consistency. And this is why Kung Fu training sometimes is also regarded or named even walking through the valley of pain. This is what Kung Fu training is. Because for your body and also the way of how you are thinking, for all of this to change, to transform, this transformation sometimes is not pleasant. Here in the West, normally you need something to motivate people to stay. So that means you, from time to time, you need to be given some type of milestone or at least some type of validation that you did something good, which in the field of martial arts or also until today, you find different graduation systems, yeah, which is symbolized sometimes. You have a white belt, then comes the yellow belt, afterwards orange belt, green belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. So black belt, master level. Okay. And in order to attain such a graduation level, you have to do some tests. Those are either physical tests and additionally, and this is what I really liked in the system that I grew up in, very early on, there was also something like a theory test, which means you were not just tested on how much can you do with the body, but you were also tested, for example, on how much virtue or how much do you understand